Good evening, one and all. Gordon Causey, as it always is. Let's open the code up. Live and unscripted, coming to you on this Sunday evening. It is the 16th of March, 2025, 10, coming up on 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're watching it live. But if you watch later on replay, I invite you to fill up the comment section down below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Going to be discussing basically the political landscape in Canada as things currently stand. Danny has already shown up. Danny is oh, a frequent contributor on the live chats. Always enjoy his contributions, and he's got an interesting little comment to start things off. Welcome to the Grand Illusion, is what Danny is writing. Come on in and see what's happening, but don't be fooled by the radio, the TV, or the magazines. Don't be fooled by the media. We have a propagandistic media in this country. I delved into that extensively during my last live video yesterday. Candy is my dog, and she's jumping all over me because I have one of these. Look at her. Oh, you want this? You want this? All right, sit, shake a paw, lay down, speak, speak. Oh, she's ready for her treat. Now, she has trained me. I am conditioned. I have to give her that treat at the start. Although I can give her a firm rebuke and say not tonight and she'll go away, but I enjoy giving her treats. She is a good dog. Anyone curious, she's a half border collie, half Aussie Shepherd. And we got her, should have named her COVID or Corona. I say that many times. We got her right at the beginning of COVID, March of 2020. I think the date was March 18th that she came to the house. Interesting times that we've been living in, and we're heading into times that are very interesting for Canadians, for people all over the world, but especially for Canadians with this looming trade war, with our political landscape having gone through something of tectonic shifts of late. Canada elected Justin Trudeau as, or rather re-elected Justin Trudeau to a new mandate back all the way in 2021 during the pandemic. Go back to October 2021 when the last federal election was held, and the vaccines had just rolled out. Trudeau had said that he wouldn't mandate them on people, but then all kinds of measures were brought out to pretty much force people to choose between being active participating members of society or bending the knee, complying, rolling up the sleeve, and getting injected whether they wanted to or not. If you chose not to, like I did, then you could not be a fully participating member of society. I couldn't sit down in a simple Tim Hortons and have a cup of coffee. There were always all these sudden experts in epidemiology and public health who insisted that I was a threat to the safety and the health of the good Canadian people because I declined to cede my bodily autonomy and take a rushed medical intervention and having it injected into my arm. But that was the Trudeau era, and the Trudeau era is, in a fashion, it is behind us. Trudeau vacated just this past Friday. Up until this past Friday, Justin Trudeau was Canada's Prime Minister. However, he was replaced, and a new leader of the Liberal Party was installed, and as such, Canada got a new Prime Minister absent a federal election. We didn't vote Mark Carney in as our Prime Minister. He was selected by Liberal Party members. My last video covered that in some detail, the process by which Mark Carney was installed as Prime Minister without a general election, without the say-so of the Canadian population writ large. Just 150,000, I think it's 151,000 total card-carrying Liberal members who were deemed worthy to cast a ballot in that selection. And Mark Carney he was sworn in as Canada's, I think it's he's our 24th Prime Minister. And now the question begs, when are we going to have an election? When do Canadians, the vast majority of the population, when do we get to decide who we want to be our Prime Minister? And that's the question I'm going to attempt to answer. I don't have a crystal ball. My magic 8-ball cracked and all that liquid oozed out of it. So I can't say definitively. John 5 has also shown up. Danny is echoing my sentiment with respect to complying with the draconian measures of our liberal masters, who deemed that everyone had to take if you wanted to participate in society, well, then you got to cede your bodily autonomy. Danny didn't either. A lot of people who watch my channel are part of what Justin Trudeau called the fringe majority, or rather fringe minority, with unacceptable views. We were living through such a fascist style era for so long under Justin Trudeau, where whatever Justin Trudeau proclaimed, anything outside of his paradigm, you're unacceptable, you're fringe, democracy be damned. And now we're into a situation, we're mid-March, and Canadians are waiting to find out, when will we go to the polls? When will we get to decide whether or not we want this individual who was installed as Prime Minister? When do we get to decide whether we want Mark Carney and his Liberal Party ruling for another potentially 4 years? And I have been one up till now who has been saying that I expected that Mark Carney would go to the Governor General. The way the process works in Canada is that a sitting Prime Minister can go to the Governor General, request that Parliament be formally dissolved for the purposes of having a general election. And it has been my best guess that within a week or so of being installed as Prime Minister, that Mark Carney would be going to the polls, or would be going to the Governor General and sending Canadians to the polls. That has been my suspicion, but I'm now going to push that a little further. I think we may be looking at another 2-3 weeks. Mark Carney has just named a cabinet, significantly reduced in size from what it had been under Justin Trudeau. If memory serves, I should have checked this before I did, but in broad strokes, I'm going to be close. I'm not going to be perhaps 100% on the money, but I believe Justin Trudeau's cabinet numbered in and around 35 members, and I believe that Mark Carney's new cabinet has reduced that number by 10 or so. I think he's in and around 24 or 25. So we have a slimmed down cabinet. And that is something that Canadians will see as, well, that's a positive thing. He's reducing the size of government, or at least reducing the size of the cabinet table. Oh, so that's good. Mark Carney also just took the carbon tax and reduced it to 0%, effectively eliminating carbon taxation that Canadians have been enduring since 2019. I did check that before I went live. Carbon taxes were first imposed by Justin Trudeau's Liberals back in 2019, and they've been climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing, going higher and higher, sending up the cost of gas, of groceries, of everything. And now Mark Carney, by way of something that I've mentioned this before on my station, that in the United States, they have what are called executive orders or executive actions, where Donald Trump or Biden before him or Obama before that could just sign what's called an executive order or an executive action and put something into a law while circumventing what they call in the United States the Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate. We have the same idea here in Canada. However, the language is different. It's called an order in council. Same idea, though. And this is why the carbon tax has not actually been eliminated, because to eliminate an existing tax that is on the books as a lawful tax, Mark Carney would have to, that would require an act of Parliament. That would have to go through the House of Commons. It would have to go through the Senate. It would have to be signed by the Governor General. So he can't do that right now because Justin Trudeau prorogued, which means suspended Parliament, until March 24th. Justin Trudeau was in a horrible situation. Canadians hated all the liberal policies he's handed down. They hated this carbon taxation. They hated the mandates of the COVID era. They hated the way that housing costs have doubled and employment is stagnant. People are working 3 and 4 jobs just trying to keep their heads above water, having to rely on food banks to put food on the table. And so the Liberal Party has absolutely destroyed Canada. And Justin Trudeau was faced with going before the legislature, and there was a very real potential that his government would fall, and that Canada would be thrust into an election, and the Liberals were at risk of being decimated. There was wide speculation that they could lose something called official party status, that they could drop, I think it's 12 seats required in the House of Commons to have official party status. And there was speculation that it was possible they could drop down below that. They'd lost traditionally Liberal safe ridings in by-elections, one in downtown West Island, Montreal, another in downtown Toronto. Everywhere they went, I think they lost 5 by-elections in a row. And they couldn't even hold safe Liberal ridings that had been Liberal for decades. And so Justin Trudeau resigned. He announced his intention to resign subsequent to a leadership race, which we just had with 151,000 card-carrying Liberal Party members out of 400,000 actual members. There were 400,000 card-carrying Liberal Party members who were supposed to have the right to vote in an election in this selection process. However, the Liberal Party brought in a 3 or 4 step verification process that would allow a person to vote. And out of the 400,000 card-carrying Liberal Party members, only 151,000 were actually able to navigate that process and be approved to vote to install Mark Carney as our Prime Minister, not just as leader of the Liberal Party, but as Prime Minister. I'm going to just read before I keep rambling on, I'm going to read up on what's being written in the live chat. A lot of people are, Danny's writing Trudeau 2.0, which is what Mark Carney is. He's, it's the same clown, just different makeup. Mark Carney, he's older than Trudeau. He certainly has a much more extensive educational background, professional background. Justin Trudeau came in to become the Prime Minister of Canada. And prior to being Prime Minister of Canada, he was a backbench nobody MP who would just bang his desk during question period. And before that, he'd been a ski instructor, a bouncer in a bar. He'd been a semi-teacher, part-time teacher at a private school, and he left that with Trudeau himself. The story changes as to why he left that position. He was known to put on blackface all the time. He loved blacking himself up for whatever reason. He's a drama queen. And Captain Woke referred to, he famously said, we like to call humanity or humankind people kind, please. It's good that he's gone. It's good that he's gone, but there's that old bromide of the better the devil you know. Mark Carney is the devil we do not know. And it has to be remembered that Mark Carney, since 2020, has been advising the Trudeau Liberals. So as they've been increasing carbon taxes higher and higher in this supposed effort to battle climate change, because Mark Carney is all in on this. I mean, you can search far and wide and you'll see he is all in on the absolute necessity, he says. It's an absolute requirement that Canada get its carbon emissions down to this fanciful net zero where we contribute nothing to carbon emissions. Meanwhile, you go to the other side of the world in China, which has 35 times Canada's little pipsqueak population, and they keep bringing on more and more coal-fired hydroelectric generation. They're burning coal. We've got Canadians freezing in the dark because they can't afford their electricity bill, because we're trying to stop The government says we have to stop emitting carbon into the atmosphere. Meanwhile, in China, 35 times the population of Canada, they keep burning coal to fuel their growing, I would say, exploding economy. Their economy, compared to what Canada, the growth that China has experienced over the past 10 years, has blown Canada out of the water. And yet, and this is who we have as installed as our new prime minister. And most Canadians simply aren't going to be paying that close of an attention to what's happening. They'll look and they'll see, oh, gas went down a little because they took the carbon tax off of gasoline. I'm certain that the petroleum companies, it's my own editorial opinion. Okay, so don't take this to the bank. But it is my suspicion that the oil and gas companies are going to, lower gas prices a bit, but not fully commensurate with the drop or the elimination of the carbon tax down to 0%. And then Danny is writing, he's probably got a hidden tax somewhere. Well, this is what Mark Carney is proposing, is that rather than putting a carbon tax, which hits us directly by increasing costs on us directly, what he's going to do is he's going to hit the polluters themselves, and they will be taxed directly. And then, and I'm here to tell you, they're simply going to pass the added taxation that they're experiencing onto us, the consumers. Net result is that we're going to be paying more for everything just like before. It's a shell game, if you know the old shell game. Where's the P?